Is the reselling industry oversaturated? Now this one is like a real chunky, meaty topic in itself, because I think that it's quite complex, but it basically, I'm going to try and break down whether I think the reselling industry is oversaturated, and also probably a little bit of a step into where I think its direction's actually going to take. So, in short, is the reselling industry oversaturated? Yes. The reason why it's oversaturated right now in this current moment is because the supply is outweighing the demand. It's quite a simple process of things. Like, if there's more people trying to sell their products than people that are interested in buying them, then you have a supply over a demand position. Now, that's because at the moment, how I see it, there's still a big capacity for this industry to grow, and I'll keep reinforcing this point for as long as possible. They say secondhand fashion will surpass fast fashion by 2030, which means that over the next 7 years, the industry itself is going to have some massive shifts and massive growths. And one of the biggest factors, I think, with that is in the sense that as people become more aware of ethical fashion, of green options, and I know that reselling doesn't necessarily determine it being green fashion, but I'm obviously coming from the background of a vintage and a second-hand clothing's reseller, so I'm going to come from that angle first. But you know, reselling, that's where I'm coming from. You know the vibes. So as people become more aware of like second-hand, and as people become more aware of like the harm and damage to fast fashion, there's this big shift in the, the want and the need to be a part of this green economy, to be just more aware. Like most people now probably know people who shop sustainably, who buy second-hand, but you've probably got a lot of friends that still don't. Even me, like after doing this for so many years, I've got people in my life that are head to toe in places like Zara and H&M, but I'm also not one of those people that goes and preaches to my mate about how bad it is. Some people will just sort of learn over time. So when we kind of look at this in terms of its oversaturation, when I got into this industry initially, there was a lot more people interested in the buying aspect than they were interested in the actual reselling aspect. And that's why brands like Gully and many others similar to us at the same time were able to, I guess, grow exponentially, thankful to certain platforms like ASOS Marketplace, places like eBay, and also the sort of birth of their own websites and things. People were like, this is wicked, this is the place to buy second-hand vintage stuff, this is cool. However, and I really don't want this to come across like I'm being salty to it, I have actually over time learned to definitely get more on board with it, and I think it's really good that we're in more of a sustainable and a green economy, and people are not only just being green, but people are actually wanting to have side hustles. Like, you want to be your own boss, you want to make your own money, you want to build something, and I think power to you guys. I think power to anybody who wants to do that. Am I going to tell you that it's easy? No. It's not easy, and there's a lot more complexities to how tough this actual industry is. But right now, we're in a position where people have jumped onto the craze, because I can call it a craze so far, because it's kind of exponentially growing in terms of people wanting to resell more than people wanting to buy. When I used to sell, people didn't even think about the idea of them being able to resell. However, now, if you was to sell on somewhere like Depop, or resell on your own website, most people that buy from you have either understood about reselling themselves, they've asked the question, do I want to do that, or would I be happier buying the products from this website that simplifies it for me? And if I was to do it myself, how would I go about it? So people are way more aware of how the industry works. And again, second-hand sustainable fashion, or reselling in general, buying something and selling it for a higher value, with the internet economy that we're in now and the online way of making money, it's idealistic. People can kind of go about living life and making money for a business. But how does this sort of tie into the oversaturation of it, and kind of like where's it going to go from there? So realistically, right now we're in a super oversaturation version of it, just because there's so many people that are still yet to be converted to the sustainable angle. And over time, what needs to happen, or what will probably happen, is as more celebrities and more influential people give more of an impression towards an ethical way forward with fashion, or more of a green option, coupled with those fast fashion brands that actually are seen to promote green ways. So I don't know, I'm sure there's a few fast fashion brands. This also doesn't condone what they do in terms of their mass production. Certain brands, I'm sure, like Primark, have like a second-hand stores within their houses. Certain ones like, is it Pretty Little Thing or Misguided? They have like a second-hand marketplace. I haven't researched into what the actual economy of things looks like, but if the people that only know about fast fashion go onto a website and then start learning about second-hand fashion, to the detriment of them shouting about it, or just to the overall increased awareness of people, this second-hand, like, you know, the heartbeat of the second-hand industry will just start to pump more and more blood into it, and people will have a lot more interest and awareness to it. You think about a young family now that's having children, and their children are like 4 or 5 years old, and they've been brought up learning through the internet and through either TikTok or YouTube, or just maybe buying and selling themselves. They've learned more about economical, sustainable and second-hand fashion. And as a result, their kids might be wearing second-hand stuff in a positive way. This is another reason why the second-hand industry and the reselling side of it is definitely set to boom a lot more, because despite there being a lot of opportunities to make money out there, and without coming from this angle too much, within the UK and probably within a lot of other places, the second-hand option of buying and selling clothes, or buying clothes, does really give people a lot more flexibility with funds. A big part of, you know, I don't want to call out a shop, but if you was to go to your local high street and buy clothes, and like you had like a few children, and you was going to go and buy them, like, I don't know, a couple sweatshirts from a certain shop, maybe some Nike ones, maybe some jeans or stuff, for like 2 kids to get like an outfit each, you might be setting yourself back £250. Whereas now, with the second-hand community of things and the way that grows, you could be able to do that for maybe a tenth of the price, maybe less, maybe a little bit more. It could be like 25, 30 quid to get all those outfits from kids' clothing, which means that, you know, it kind of is a highlight of the times, but also that cost of living and that hard situation that we're in will elevate the industry of it. So right now, I would say that there's a lot more resellers within the community of the online selling. There's a lot of platforms that are coming in constantly. There's this, you know, it's kind of like, imagine like a town that years ago you would go to the centre and it was like, it had like a famous burger joint, or it had a famous like chip shop, I don't know, whatever the example is, but everybody knew this one place and they always went to that one place to go and buy their nice enjoyment meal at the end of the week. Fast forward it to like now, for example, say you go to the same town and there's 50 options. Not only is that those 50 places competing with each other for that one customer, but that one customer has 50 options. And that's where the multiple of it is right now. So I guess the analogy would be that right now, it's like we're in a busy high street with loads of food shops, but there's just not enough footfall of people coming through to see what they want to eat. A lot of them are like going somewhere else. And that other place right now is like fast fashion, maybe just different ways of buying clothes through less reselling inspired communities or less ethical ways. You know, all reselling isn't ethical, and I don't mean that to throw shade, but if you're buying and selling fast fashion or you're buying and selling like new clothing, it's obviously a little bit different. But I'm coming from the perspective that I know, which is buying and selling vintage and second-hand clothing for how long I have. But yeah, I've seen this industry when I was one of the main leaders, and when I say one of the main leaders, I mean I'll probably get into showing more about like the amounts I've made for people that are interested to understand like where I come from with that, so you kind of, I guess, maybe understand like more of my expertise or understanding of things. And now it's at a much different level, but I still think that if you want to get into this industry, for you to either set up a business or make money on the side, or be a part of this like sort of green economy, then now is the time to get into it, because it is only going to slowly but surely go up in that direction, and that direction is up. Trust me, mark my words. 2030, there's going to be some massive changes, and there already is massive changes. So if you want to know more about this, the reselling community, anything to do with business and fashion, follow this page, and I'll be here every day with videos talking about that. But as always, guys, appreciate you for tuning in and getting this far in the videos. Big up to you. I don't know what I'm doing, but yeah, shouts to you.